Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, Righteous Force, Brian's Logic, Adam Meakin, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome, one and all.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Happy New Year!
Hey, happy New Year,
Welcome back.
Yes, thank you so much for ruining this to ever be a rerun, because it dates it. There we go. Yes, Happy New Year. Yeah, we are in the New Year.
Happy birthday to the Black Swan and the QE.
Let's just not mention the date or time again, because then it makes the videos that little bit more timeless. But as we are literally live right now, who cares? It is 2023, 1st of January. Is it 1st? It's 2nd today, isn't it? Yeah, my watch says 2nd.
2nd.
Yep, 2nd of January.
Yes,
so we're well into
You
it.
had a very long weekend, Nathan, but you do look very rested, though. On camera.
Rested? Oh, not at all. No. I spent the Christmas period with my family, and my dad's dying, so it's not very much fun for me at the moment. But there we go. If you look rested, then I'm pleased to hear it. It's not exactly the case. Such is life, though. Let's do a bit of housekeeping, as we don't want to be on a downer for the show. But we don't also want to be dating it, so let's not necessarily mention that it's New Year anymore. But we'll get it all out of the way. Let's get it all out of our system. Happy New Year, Arwin, Righteous, Neil, Brian, Adam, and everyone in Discord. Good to be in 2023.
That's the wishes.
Any New Year's resolutions? We will get this out of our systems before we do housekeeping.
Hold on. I got a question. When that Black Swan first came out, that was 1st Jan 2020, correct?
Come again?
It was January 1st, 2020, the Black Swan, correct?
Yes, 3 years ago.
Okay, and then people took, like they said, how long it would take before people would catch on. Well, this is going to be 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And still people are not getting it?
Yeah, but the upper echelons of numpties seem to be starting to cotton on. I only have one example, if I'm honest, and it's Ruhif. So in Brian's Logic's very concise and very detailed Black Swan explanation, with all of the rebuttals tucked in nicely. Good video, by the way, Brian. In there, because of the consistency of Brian's dissemination of the Black Swan, right at the end of the 3rd year it'd been out, Ruhiv left a comment essentially saying, so can I not have a bent line to a bent Earth? And obviously I just ripped into him in about 25 comments underneath, calling him in a total idiot, which he is. So what bent tangent then was basically the sentiment. I won't go through every single comment, but that was the sentiment, right? So what bent tangent? You can't have a straight line in geometry meeting the curve for your maths. It must be bent, therefore breaking that tangent line. It's no longer a geometric measurement anymore for your assertion in the maths with a tangent. You know, the penny's starting to drop. Maybe he'll just shut down and go into denial again. Who cares? He's asking the question, can I have a bent line to a bent Earth? No, you can't. It's not a geometric assertion in your maths when it's got a tangent line to a curved edge. That's what tangent is. That's what your maths is. It's only taken 3 years for you to get it, Ruhif. But there you go. I hope that answers your question, Neil.
Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, I think what Ruhif's comment was, Brian, are you stating that you can't do geometry on a refracted horizon? Or with a, I think that was something.
Right.
It didn't ask be or something.
You can't use a bent tangent. Yeah, that's what he was basically saying, wasn't it, Brian?
I was gifted from Rufy over Christmas by He's reviewed your video. The 17 minutes and 30. This is a great one. Brian says, you'd need to know the... Oh, no, sorry. He's addressing you. Brian, you'd need to know the actual size of the moon to even claim it has an angular size. Dear God, Brian, this is the notch you've got them in.
Yeah, exactly. They're telling us how their own model falls apart, but because they're positioning it to us, they don't realise how bad of annihilation they've just declared in regards to their own assertions. It is amusing, and it is very aptly put by Adam. They're in knots.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, I've never seen the moon in any other size than I see it all the time. And the same with the sun or the celestials. So giving them an angular size is kind of cheating because you don't know what their actual size is. Maybe their actual size is their angular size because we don't know what the things are. We don't know how they function, what their composition is. They're an absolute mystery. So although you can't say the moon and the sun have a 0.5 of a degree of an angular size, you can say that and you can measure that, but you can't show their actual size. And nobody on Earth has ever seen their actual size. So you don't know if their angular size is their actual size or if they even have what you could call a size.
That's my point. We only have an angular size for the luminaries. So it's them that insist on a real size and that there's some kind of proportionality between angular size. Well, it's exactly the same. It is that same angular size calculator of how the luminaries work. You know, it's and that's what I'm saying. You've got them in knots. They're now having to attack and point out the weaknesses in their own model. So if he's having a go at you, you need to know the actual size. No, we don't. We can measure the angular size. That's all anybody's ever done.
And it's not useful for actual navigation. All you need to know is where it's above. What part of the land is it situated above at what given time? Because if you know that, you can work out where you are. Do you need to know the height? No. Do you need to know the size? No. Do you need to know where it's above at a given time? Yes. And we do. That's useful and practically applied in navigation. So that's what we lean on when we're talking about flat earth proofs. So our positive assertion is you need a flat earth to get an elevation angle measurement. So you can calculate distance to the GP. So you can draw a circle around it and say, I'm sat somewhere on that circle. That's all you're doing. But you need a flat earth to do it. Now that's a positive assertion that uses a luminary, but doesn't need its height or size. Just needs to know where it's above at a given time. That's it. So you can do this. Go outside tonight if the stars are out and look above you. Now there may be a star directly above your head. Now this example falls apart if it's not necessarily a navigation star, but there's a lot of them, so there's a good chance. But just for the example, you look up and there's a star directly above your position. That's useful. You are at that star's GP, the ground position of the star, at that time. Obviously, if you wait an hour, it's no longer above you, it's above somewhere else. But if that's the star you're picking, you know where it is above at a given time, and you can verify it. Very, very, very useful. Okay? However, by contrast, I'm nearly there. By contrast, the heliocentric model has a need for a size of the Earth as a sphere with a radius value, and that radius value is needed to apply to other luminaries to give you distances and sizes by way of Kepler's third law scaling values. So their assertions need to be proven. They're a positive claim. A positive claim that we don't have to defend. We don't need to use the horizon for anything other than establishing a horizontal. If you're making that positive claim, then it's up to you to defend it. But as for it being explained for why things disappear at the horizon, I don't care. What's that? Well, you need to defend... No, I don't. What's that? You have got a positive claim about how boats prove Earth's a sphere when they go over the horizon that you claim is a sphere edge. Well, then you better get on with proving that, which I can defend and defeat and debunk. I don't need to make any positive claims about it beyond what it's practically used for, establishing a horizontal baseline for measuring angles with. in line with the title, as it suggests. Horizon. Horizontal. Useful for that purpose. That's it. That's all I use it for. Now, I will defend that claim because it's used and I can show it. But I don't have any other claims about the horizon to defend. And it is the case with most heliocentric claims that they affirm their claim in the detriment to you. In other words, they get you, the flat earther, to start defending why you can explain how things disappear in the horizon badly, so they can go on to tell you how they can do it well with their maths, if it works. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Sorry, Nathan. I thought you were stopping it when I came in there. Yeah, no, I was going to say that a lot of people, there's people out there, and they think this is some kind of celestial navigation, is some kind of globe magic. You know, I mean, they don't seem to understand how a star can be at your zenith at a particular time, and how that can be documented constantly. Because like the movement of the celestials is a constant cycle. So it's just a documentation, a data collection of that cycle over probably since Babylonian times. I don't know how long ago that was, but it's a long time ago, supposedly. So, I mean, we are going back a long time of a collection of data. So they know via time whatever celestial body you can pick that are of the navigation of the stars, they know where that star or whatever is going to be at any given time of the year. It's just even if it was just hundreds of years of data, that would be enough. But it's probably thousands of years of data, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's not magic. It's just a collection of data. They know right now where such and such a star is sitting over the Earth, because they had to know for so long to travel the oceans, you know, and just to navigate in general, you know, even on land. So, I mean, I don't, like, GPS is using the celestials. GPS uses the nautical almanac. Do you know what I mean?
It's amazing.
Yeah, GPS, it is the original GPS. And rather than going into what GPS is and claims about it, this could be Globe claims about it, sorry, or whatever. The point is, part of your GPS unit is an inbuilt and update. They say they update it, but there's not the update. It's like an inbuilt celestial nautical almanac. So, you know what I mean? When you're using a GPS unit, you're using celestial navigation, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's one of the
Well,
globe proofs.
Let Brian make the main point again.
I'm
The
sorry.
conclusion is very strong. What he's saying is GPS proves Earth's flat. That's what he's basically saying. So I want him to stress that before it's like, well, there's other points to add on, Neil. We will get to you, though. Go ahead, Brian. Just round out your point again, because it's so important.
Yeah.
The Cartesian
Thank you,
system.
Nathan.
Exactly. Cartesian coordinates.
That's where I'm going to next. It's like, even though the GPS uses signals and that from signal sources, the point is it's using not only celestial navigation, which requires a horizontal plane, but it's also using 2 and 3-dimensional Cartesian coordinates. So GPS proves the Earth is a plane and not a sphere. You know, because of the coordinates it has to use, not only celestial navigation, but the coordinates it uses. Both of those systems require parallel zeniths. So there's no way around that. I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a video to cover once Neil's put his 2 penny worth in. It's going to be by Mindshock, who's my God, this guy's massively grown. He's already bigger than me. He's the same size as me, Adam. We were talking about this in the pre-show, in case you're wondering.
Nah, you're bigger.
Nah, this guy's the same size as me. Basically the same size as me.
Yeah, but we don't know how many people you have. We don't really have a good number on it. Come on.
I'll take back what
And all I
I
want
said in
to
the
say
pre-show.
is,
Every
all I
power...
want to say to Brian was that they used that to try and make it like celestial navigation proves the globe. GPS. That was one of the main things when I first got into the flat earth was, GPS proves that it's a globe. And they still do it today. No matter what you say, They still do it.
Yeah, surface dwellers
Well,
that go, GPS? What's the G stand for? Global. Oh, proof. Really? That's the level of proof you need. Okay, go in peace. In R you trust.
well, I stated when I first started bringing up GPS a couple of years ago in presentations that the G in GPS is more correctly attributed to geodetic, because all the mapping, all the geodetic mapping, which is all ordnance survey, two-dimensional and three-dimensional Cartesian mapping, all of that is what they use for GPS. So geodetic positioning system will be a far more apt description of the acronym. You know,
Just interesting, guys, is it's still owned by the US government.
yeah. There's a couple of different versions. There's a Russian, Chinese, there's a European, Japanese, I think, version. They're all the same thing, though. It's all the same carry on. It just depends on how good their technology is, but it's all the same thing. And it originally started with surveying back in 1994, but in 1995 into 1996, the U.S. military came out and claimed that they owned it, and that they were releasing this secret technology, but it had been developed prior to that in surveying, but they hid that part in 1993, 94. And I know that for certain because my mother's partner is a retired surveyor, and he retired in 1993. And he said just as he retired in 1993, they were bringing in GPS in 1993. And that was in Ireland. There's no way that the US military in 95 or 96 suddenly released this top secret information when it was being used in Ireland in 1993. You know what I mean?
Okay, right. We're going to go on to this mind shock. So, Adam, should we just play it out and see how we get on? Is there
Yeah, I've posted the thing because I didn't want to treat it the same necessarily as a critiquing vid, because it's a really good exemplar.
Okay. You telling me take it easy on him?
Well,
Totally.
listen, it'd be interesting. That's what I'm saying. Listen to it, because he's not making a claim. He certainly makes sure he's not presenting himself as a flat earther, but he puts the arguments to this Mensa guy in a way for the guy to address and deal with. And it's very good towards the end, particularly as they're discussing what's acceptable evidence.
Okay. Well, we've got a very limited audience as per usual. 67 people watching, which is appalling, really. And it's just jumped up 71, 76. Okay, it's jumping up. Hopefully we can get to 100 people watching while we critique Mindshock, who is a YouTuber I'm subscribed to. I may or may not have watched this video. I can't remember. But let's give him a thumbs up. But yeah, go and subscribe to him. I'll just share his link again, actually. It was put in the chat a few moments ago, but I will just do it again. So you've got a link to go to him and subscribe so he can outgrow me, the bastard. There we go. So go and subscribe to Mindshock today. And yeah, let's have a
That's
look.
good news, though, isn't it? I know Neil is defending, but look at that. Look at that growth. This is somebody that's not being held back, and he's just shot up. So, but listen to what's being discussed in here. It reminded me of the flat Earth debate, and even in
if
one
you
of the
like
questions.
audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to Mindshock. This is your host, Bruce McGuire. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you have your device allowances to let those...
Personally, no, not yet. I haven't.
What were your first impressions? Did you think it was just complete lunacy, or did you have no thoughts at all? Your reactions to things are always so intriguing.
It was a great party. Yeah. Well, I've got a 5-star Galahad with...
Because you don't seem to get triggered by anything at all, so that's always interesting.
Again, if I have no exact information at the time, I mean, I can't...
But was your initial response just complete hogwash, or intrigue. I mean, obviously, it wasn't intriguing enough for you to look into it, unless you're just that busy and you did want to look into it and you just never did. Or did you think they were just joking? I mean, because that was usually, I think that's most people's impressions. Because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, these people are doing some comedy, and it's kind of funny. So I thought it was kind of entertaining in a way.
I can't lie. I might have looked into it if I did have a bit more time, but I just thought it was an interesting theory to hear.
So you didn't think they were just...
So it's the guy that just spoke that said he thought it was an interesting theory, the Mensa guy.
Yeah, but see, this is the first point. You see, he's not come in and gone, "Yeah, Mr. Mensa, you know the Earth's flat." He said he's played to him before. He said, "You're an intelligent man. You must have heard about flat Earth. You must have looked into it just to remove it from your mind." To say his technique is really cool.
You thought they were being sincere? You didn't think they were joking around or trolling?
From then, yes, I believe they were sincere at the time.
Okay.
It's fine by me because, as to say, for me, that theory did not hurt me in any way at that time. So.
Okay, so I think having a high level IQ individual dissect flat Earth is helpful, because usually we see people like Neil deGrasse Tyson or these highly triggered, indoctrinated individuals. They oppose it so greatly because, once again, Upton Sinclair once said it's very difficult to get a man to understand something which his paycheck depends on him not understanding.
Good that he qualified that, because I was about to interrupt it and stopped and hesitated because of Adam's comment before, and I'm glad I didn't. So he's just buttering the guy up by comparing him to somebody obviously intelligent like Neil deGrasse Tyson and saying, this guy's paycheck depends on it. But he's seemingly elevated this Mensa guy above Neil deGrasse Tyson and then demeaned the position of Tyson by saying, no, he only supports it because his paycheck depends on it. It was very clever. I agree, Adam.
It's the first bit, though, Nate. The first bit is, why didn't it bother you? Why didn't it bother you? Why weren't you offended by it? And that's the point. You see, he's got no eggs in the game. He's just moved past it because it's not directly affecting his paycheck. He doesn't want to challenge it, but there's nothing glaring to the Mensa guy for him to want to go there. Like I say, you're right. He's buttering him up nice to get his honest appraisal. This guy's honest all the way through. I think he's really cool.
The Mensa guy.
Yeah, genuine. Cool. Even when we get to scientific method, he's just cool.
We're just about to hit 100 people watching, so I don't have to keep shouting out. So it's wonderful. Very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Please smash the share button. Share the show far and wide. Hopefully you'll learn something as you're here. If you haven't shared it already, please share it now. If you have shared it, thank you very much indeed for sharing. That's why we've got 100 people watching, or just under, and I'm sure it'll go over, and I'm hopefully we're going to breach the 120 mark that we reached just before the new year. So we'll see. Please share the show.
So how sure are you in the heliocentric model? Let's start with that.
The heliocentric model, even still that, although I do believe, because that is how I was raised, to believe in that understanding which was proposed to me. That I do wonder and question to a degree. I mean, after all, I've never gone to space to see the various planets, the stars, or to truly understand the distance and the gravity of it all with my own.
I don't know if that's the host clinking stuff in the background off mute. Tisk tisk. In any event. Okay, so first issue, the guy's talking about a fairly valid flat Earth concept from 2015, which is actually originated from Math Powerland, which is you will never get to go to space. But asserting that you won't get to go to space is, in my opinion, in 2023, a misnomer, because it affirms the notion that there is actually a space to go to, but just leaves you with the notion, like this guy has got from Mensa, that I just haven't been there. So I haven't been to the region to confirm what the Earth looks like. It's like there is no region to go to be getting confirmations of what the Earth looks like. He just doesn't know that. So he's got a contemplation that has a heliocentric bias built in. And the questioning of his heliocentric bias is still lingering with the heliocentric bias as he questions it. I haven't been to space. Okay, so if we compare and contrast that to the religious faith of Narnians, who believe in Narnia and Aslan and the Wicked Witch, well, those people, if they're contrastable and comparable to heliocentric believers, in this case the Mensa believer, if I try and snap out the guy or girl who's believing in Narnia by saying, no, you questioning the validity of Narnia simply based on the fact that you haven't been through the wardrobe means that you still think that you can go through a wardrobe to Narnia, but only question it because you haven't yet been. Or it isn't possible for you to go because you haven't got the right coat or wardrobe to go through. But you're still under the misapprehension that Narnia is real, but you're only questioning because you haven't yet been to Narnia. Well, you're never going to get to go to Narnia either way. So long as you've got the ideas and notions that Narnia is a place you can go to, that's good enough for a heliocentric faith to linger in your brain, as is the case with the Mensa guy. His lingering ideas that he hasn't yet been to space are trying to overcome cognitively the fact that there isn't a space to go to. He just doesn't yet know that. Go ahead. Was that Adam?
Yeah, just that's what he's doing now. He's not so much challenging it. He's asking him what are his positives as to why the wardrobe in Narnia is real. He's asking what underpins that belief. And he starts out by saying, well, that's what I was taught as a kid. He's now just going to, I think, get him to substantiate why he believes it. I say he's not taking it to that level straight away. Why would you believe in that? Because it's the first floor. He's asking him, first of all, to give his clear validations for his belief, which is, I think, is clever.
Quick shout out to Godzilla37, who says, I support this channel as it pursues the truth. The moment anyone behaves as though they are the ultimate arbiter of truth, I'm out. Still here, by the way. But that is about the best compliment you could possibly give us, Godzilla. Thank you very, very much for your support, more than the super chat, although I do appreciate the money. Thank you very much indeed.
I don't know about him sometimes.
I'm sure Godzilla's seen our critique of his... I said it was playing devil's advocate and making sure we kept frosty in terms of assessing all of the other claims, in this case from Bev, which is what, if you are unaware of our critique of a super chat that was left in this show by Godzilla about 10 days ago, versus some what QE described as chat scan comments, where basically Godzilla was expressing his affirmation of the notions that were put forth by Bev in regards to the use of an angle. Now, I read that to be him keeping us on our toes by making sure that the argument as it's presented to him as an audience member of Bev, or a member of Bev's show, making sure that it's refined in the way it's been refined as it's presented to us, and that we'll pay attention to it to the point where he's happy to spend money to make sure that we critique it in the way it's been presented to be critiqued, or just been presented. Now, for that, I thank Godzilla. Now, I know that both Neil and QE were of a very different attitude, and QE was even of the opinion that he's tugging on Superman's cape. I personally, and hopefully that came across in the discussion, didn't necessarily view it that way. So you're welcome to your opinions. But based on the last super chat from Godzilla, which I'll read again, I support this channel as it pursues the truth. The moment anyone behaves as though they are the ultimate arbiter of truth, I'm out. So in other words, I assume he's a member of the show, so I'm assuming he's watched us critique his super chats. Which, again, I can't remember who it was, but someone commented at the time that, yeah, just because you've spent money on it doesn't mean it's not going to get critiqued. Well, that's true. Unfortunately, in the past, it has cost me, literally financially cost me, considerable amounts of money in the past when we have done that. In other words, unfortunately, yeah, you can support the show with cash, but if the comment that comes along with it's wrong, unfortunately, that's still going to be open to subjective objection from everybody in the panel. That's just how it is here, right? You can't have one rule for one person because they've come and presented a faith in the globe, and then have another rule for another person because they're kind of on our side, but they seem to be critiquing us a little bit, but with money. Therefore, they're okay. They're okay. We'll just kind of ignore it and brush past it and thank them for the money and then move on. No, that's definitely not the attitude we take here. As you can probably tell from this 5-minute interlude. Anyway, Neil, did you want to add something else on that?
Yeah, because he's also lined up with Whitson too. So he's a good guy. I like him. He's with us, but I'm just a little leery of him lately.
Would you rather he didn't understand the full, all-encompassing arguments from the people we are ultimately detractors of? Would you rather he was ignorant or
No, I'm
just
not
on
sa-
their
I'm not-
side? I
I'm
think
not
he's
saying that.
he's the perfect person in that regard.
Like I took that last comment as he thinks that we're saying that we're the arbiters of all truth.
No, he's saying the opposite
it's
of
just that.
He's not saying
I
that
don't
at
know.
all.
The opposite, Neil. And
Maybe I'm hearing it wrong.
Even as long as it's polite, yeah, it's not just ad hom. People's opinions are opinions, and they're worth hearing. You know, and Godzilla's done a few. He's done it through super chats, which means it gets up there and read out. They all seem to be pertinent points. Whether you agree with his viewpoint is kind of irrelevant. He seems a genuine guy that has his own view, and he's approaching it. And that last super chat was a lot more convincing that he is on that path than the one I saw sent from Glenn. But I heard it in a positive light, Neil. I didn't see that as a threat. That's what we do here. Even down to the point of critiquing people, as Nathan said, that's funding him. And I would be the same. I would be out if this turned into, no, you've got to shut up and not comment. Yeah, gone. I'd make a big noise and leave. These are the standards we set ourselves here.
That's why we're graced with your presence.
I agree with that.
I say it with a smile, but that wasn't exactly a fun time for Adam. But that is the principles that you have to employ, and sometimes you cut loose of places and people because of it. And it's hard. I'm not going to deny that some people who, on a social level, I like or liked, and you cut them loose because, ultimately speaking, they are fundamentally opposed to a principle that you stand by. And in this case, we're at the right cutting edge of that, and it's deemed the most provoking word you can have next to it, truth. Right? So we're on a dangerous knife edge sometimes. And if those relationships come into place because of this pursuit, you can't really make an exception and go, all right, well, that person's not really into truth, but they're a good laugh. Or, I really like them, though. It's like, that's how you end up getting burned. And I have, and I'm sure people who are watching have been burned by people like that, if they make the exception for and then just end up getting betrayed. I'm sure it happens to all of us. Anyway, side note based on somebody who's being generous and actually giving me money. Can we move on?
Nice.
Do you believe it's required? Do you think empiricism should be the default standard for anyone believing something instead of taking it on blind faith as...
Oh man, this guy. I mean, if the Mensa guy doesn't see through this makes me feel a little bit dirty, Adam.
So, it's not dirty. This is the quality of what he's doing. And
quality?
No.
Only because if this was with anybody other than a Mensa, what do you call it? A Mensa student, a Mensa member, Mensa member. There you go. That's what I was fishing for. If this was from anybody else but a Mensa member, I'd go, oh, kudos. You know, what you're doing is you're giving him a singular outcome choice where the opposing choice is already presented to you in such a negative light that you'd be a fool to choose it. Do you like valid empiricism that's obviously true and couldn't be denied? Or do you just prefer some blind faith bollocks that nobody could possibly be? Which do you think he's going to pick? Now, if I wasn't, if I was the Mensa guy, I'd be rolling my eyes. But you think this is genius? Okay.
I don't think the Mensa guy is. I don't think just going through these principles early on to get agreement is very useful later on, and certainly with academic intellectuals, once he's affirmed it in this conversation, he's not going to backtrack.
Does he know this guy? Maybe he's already assessed the guy's vanity level. We'll see. But what I do like, let's just give it some positive shit sandwich. He did actually get into the wrangle-dangle of empiricism nice and early on. That I like.
As gospel truth just because other humans have said it was so.
I honestly do believe that a person should take their own personal responsibility in doing research if they're honestly going to believe or advocate something. before they try to preach it to others. As if
Now here's where I'm at with all of this flat Earth insanity. Why are people so desperate to cling to a theory of any kind? Why not put logic at the forefront? Why not put the methodology itself at the forefront instead of jumping to a conclusion or assumption or picking a side just for the sake of picking a side? Because what I find the most hilarious is that flat earthers usually mop the floor with everyone in any kind of debate. But what I find it even more funny is if the heliocentric model is true, it's that the people defending the heliocentric model, even if that's the true model, they're just so illogical and emotionally triggered by anyone questioning their faith-based belief system. Even
just a couple of minor critiques. I know Adam's kind of suggested that I don't do this and just let it run its course, but theories, I know the guy from Mensa used the word, maybe he's just going along to get along in this regard, but theories are the aftermath of experimentation, which are based on a logical progression. That logical progression is the empirical method when actualized, and the method includes the logic of the scientific method, if A then B, or if A not B. So you are following logic to get to the empiricism, to get to the theory, which you're kind of decrying when you go, well, is it just about these theories? Now, again, I appreciate that you could argue, oh, no, I meant the colloquial use of the word theory, just some general vague idea of things in the colloquial sense. However, you've also prefaced this with the word empiricism to the Mensa guy, so you can't get away with that. Sorry, Adam, to critique him on such a high standard, but so far this guy's pretty sharp. I'm just trying to sharpen him further, and he already seems like he's 90% sharpened, right?
Totally. That level's fine. Whether he's just engaging with him is all I'd say here. It's not to say the critique's not literally valid, but he's certainly not been picked up by the Mensa guy.
No, that yeah, I'm glad you reminded me. Glad we're of like mind this morning, it seems. Anyway, yes, the Mensa guy didn't pick up on it, or didn't seem to be verbally rolling his eyes when he said that, although it's hard to tell. I'll have to get used to the voice changer in terms of picking up on certain intonations from him and the guest, which are a bit more difficult with this voice changer thing going on, but there we go, that's life.
Even if the faith, what they have faith in happens to be true.
Which is sad, but from what I feel or believe is that most people usually are afraid of the unknown or anything that they can't explain away.
Or threatens their existence in some way.
Never a true word spoken, both of you.
Exactly. And again, more than likely too, even though people may be taught or to believe a certain thing, even if they were given certain information, a good portion of people might just take it for what it is, forget all the factual knowledge behind it, and just say, well, that is what it is. So there's no need to remember.
Yeah, most people are just very, very dogmatic. But all right, so let's get into a little bit of the nitty gritty. So, how much evidence do you think should be required for someone to believe in theory A, the heliocentric model, versus theory B, a flat Earth geocentric model?
I'm not sure to say how much. I mean, the quality, undoubtedly, I would feel that that would carry great weight.
Okay, so well, what specifically? Like, let's say it was possible to prove one way or the other right now. What would you be looking for? Like, if the heliocentric model is definitively true, what are the pieces of evidence, whether or not there's a lot of them or just a few pieces with high quality pieces?
To me, Adam, this just sounds like he's leading him into the false dichotomies and the begging the question fallacies.
Not
for him. I don't.
He's asking him now to define how would he can go away now magically. What's going to confirm either viewpoint is what he's asking now, ball or flat. What would you do to define it? So he's just putting the ball in his court and just asking him what are his standards.
Yeah, but the way he led him, I just object to, because he was like, if we just accept that the heliocentric model is true, what standard of evidence would there be required, in your opinion, to prove it? And then if I put it against by comparison, a flat Earth geocentric model, so I just read that back as, in shorthand, if we beg the question of a sphere, how do you stack up the false dichotomy of sphere versus flat Earth? That's what he's actually asked him, isn't it?
I would say he's more asking what are your standards to approach this. Okay, we're gonna
bit's fine.
settle the argument.
Yeah.
What's gonna settle it?
No, and that bit I like. I like the fact that what he's trying to egg him on to do is, I get that you might find yourself doing this, and you probably find an example of me doing it if you looked. But he's leading him. I get that, and he's leading him well. He's going, what are the standards of evidence you think we need then? But instead, he's gone, what are the standards of evidence if we beg the question of a sphere Earth being true, and then stack it up in false dichotomy with the flat Earth geocentric model? He didn't need that. That kind of riles me.
You remember when I was in Nottingham and we had that couple, and they got straight into, and this is what he's trying to avoid, debate first. Just get your bullets lined up. So when I was discussing with them first, and I went to gas pressure, first thing I did was discuss how molecules behave. So that once we'd agreed that early on, when we got to their Carmen line, they were done. And that's when that lass got a bit narky because she realised she was done. He's doing the same thing here. He's getting all his ducks lined up first. Whether there's even a need to go in, you'll see. But
okay, I'm conceding and say fine. Just for
it's more like a street talk to me, where you're not wanting to rage first of all. You're not wanting to, like I say, you're not wanting to prove flat Earth. You're wanting them. You just want to lead them down the path to apply their own logical thinking and standards that they've previously claimed they have to this problem now.
Okay,
it's like a nice setup to me.
I don't think so. No, I'm glad we disagree, because this is all about presentation. And in the pre-show, we were talking about, well, how's the best way to clean the hard drive of someone's brain in order to wipe away the indoctrination and present them with new information. Well, when it comes to offering up the pre-laid out feast of nonsense, begging the question and false dichotomy fallacies that are given to us by our opponents, it, to me, seems wrong to offer them up as an invite to get the conversation started. If Anthony was here, and if Anthony's watching, and I didn't say what I'm saying now, he'd be pissed because he'd be hearing the echoes of me go, don't beg that question for him, Anthony. What are you doing? Let them do it. Then pull them apart based on it. But here, he's cut off his route to pulling apart a false dichotomy or a begging the question fallacy because he's preemptively offered both to get the conversation started. So, for the sake of letting it progress, I'm not going to dwell on it any further than we have. We do disagree on this, though. Adam.
Yeah. Could I say something on it before you press play?
You can, but I'll just read out a couple of super chats before you do. So, Michael Khan's gifted a membership, so if someone wants to pick up that membership, thank you very much, Michael Khan. Really appreciate it. And it also encourages the Globers to join as members and offer. We've got one or two that have picked up free memberships off of the contributors to the show. In this case, Michael Khan. Thank you very much. And then they've offered their detracted comments when they've been watching the show before it's released, which is great. So if you're a Glowbed and you want a free membership, snap it up now. Also, Godzilla37, thank you very much for the super chat. It says 2 years, Neil, and I still like you. That cuts deeper than it first meets the eye. Anyway, go ahead, Brian. Thank you for the super chats.
Thank you. Thanks, Nathan. I'll try and be brief with it. Yeah, well, I would have started off the conversation asking this guy, because I don't rate the whole Mensa thing myself personally, but I would have started off asking him about how would he define solid logic and intellect? What examples would he give if he was asked that by any random person, which I would be, how he would define that? And I'd start off with that intellectual level, like how would he define that? Someone define a good use of logic and intellect, and that's where I would have started with, and then I would have started leading into, well, what about this thing or that thing? The way we have people who will state that the Earth is a globe and whatever. I would have gone that direction, but I would have started with logic, and I would have started with intellect and how he defined that.
Would you not say by?
Then he's.
I was just going to say, would you not say by you doing that you would come across as overly aggressive?
Well, that wouldn't be my intent. My intent would be that whatever he'd say at that point, that if he goes into any belief, because belief is not part of logic or intellect, if he goes into any belief later on to do with the heliocentric model, I would say, well, that contradicts what you said about intellect and logic. And that would be my point. That would be where I'd be working off of. So he is a Mensa member. I'm bringing logic and intellect into it at the start. So whatever he says, I would hold him to later on. Thank you.
Any other comments this far?
What's required for the heliocentric model? Like if somebody put a gun to your head and said, you must state a model, you're allowed to demand evidences, but you have to tell us the conclusion. So what evidences would you demand to believe in the heliocentric globe model definitively?
We've got breaking news.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Yeah, and a fair question to put to somebody that knows it is heliocentric in their viewpoint, especially to an academic, because it stretches their mind, doesn't it? They're actually, they think they've got all this, then suddenly, you get that and he's already just said how much he likes empiricism and stuff. So now he's at the point where he likes empiricism, and he's got to, hopefully, he's going to try and do something empirical to prove his viewpoint. He's got that gun to his head, and he can demand the answer. So they're the things. So the world's his oyster now, isn't it? He can have any proof he wants. So it's now up to him to empirically put something on the table, which I think is a fantastic question.
Probably information acquired by dependable device, let's say, that might cut through the entire Earth, almost in a 360 fashion, which really express the fact that it is indeed a globe.
His answer is to say, perfectly reasonable. If I had it laid out on a plate in front of me, dissected in half, I'd be pretty sure at that point. Yeah, that's about as empirical as you can get. I'd say that's a good answer.
Is again pictures from outer space. You'll picture it out as a circle, more likely for the Earth, but again.
You're aware of the flat earther argument that those pictures are all doctored.
That I did hear.
Yeah, so, which, again, whether they're doctored or not, I mean, our photos... So here's the biggest problem I have with that argument by the people that just, they believe, they treat NASA like a church, and anything NASA puts out, or anybody that works for NASA, they treat them as a priest. So you have the Church of NASA with the priests of NASA, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. All these people, they're just preaching information and delivering information. They're delivering data. But here's the thing. The flat earthers are asserting that NASA is complicit in a worldwide conspiracy of governments and space agencies to hide the shape of the Earth. So that's the assertion. Now, we're not going to say whether it's true or not. So if we're putting them on trial, like if you're putting a serial killer on trial, you're...
Okay, I don't know if I fully...
Just let him finish the analogy.
Okay.
This is
saying this serial killer is guilty. And these serial killers' buddies in other countries, they're guilty. So this network of serial killers are guilty. Someone who is on the side of the... So whether you're on the side of the serial killers or not, are you going to accept the pictures that the serial killers provide as an alibi? Because we're not saying, like, maybe they're doctored, maybe they're not, but are you going to accept the information from that party, or do you need neutral third parties to remain objective?
I prefer neutral third parties that will remain objective, and even with pictures, I can't fully place faith in those or like to that as a sole defining evidence. I mean, again, as you said, pictures could be docked.
See there, honest chat. He's made a great example, and the guy said, "Yeah, I'd want third party stuff to validate this." Yeah, well, within his analogy, well, that's taken away his first thought that the pictures, because he went empirical. Yeah, brilliant. Can we cut it in half though? No. So he's still struggling for an example, but in this case, like, he's put a perfectly valid point, and the guy's agreed. Yeah, I can't accept pictures from NASA as my underlying proof. He's back to square one again.
Why not? Right, I don't like any of this. Why not?
No, I don't.
I don't like that. So if NASA had pictures of Earth from space, I just rephrase that. If Edmund had pictures of Aslan in Narnia, then I would accept that Narnia is real and that Aslan was real if he had pictures of Aslan in Narnia.
No,
Why
'cause he's
wouldn't I
saying-
accept it?
No, it's the opposite to that. He's saying, and he's got the guy to agree that even though, yeah, he's got pictures from Narnia, he accepts that those pictures don't have validity in the sense of proof because they're from the defense and they're only provided by the defense. There are no independent third parties of either the wardrobe or Narnia. There's only people that are defending the murderers that have got these pictures and have produced these pictures. So he gets the Mensa guy to accept that that's not an acceptable level of proof,
Now,
which I think is a big step when you challenge, because often the first rebuttal, we've got pictures from space. It's already there in a very succinct way, got the guy to say, I, as the ball earther, have to say, no, that's not sufficient evidence. What's next then for him?
Now, I appreciate that it's got him to agree, and I'm surprised how conciliatory the guy is. But even if I was in front of the mind shock guy, I wouldn't necessarily be agreeing with his posing of this question in that regard. And if I was playing devil's advocate, I would say, yeah, why wouldn't you accept a picture? Because we haven't got to the point where we're questioning the place the picture has come from. So, based on the example I gave you with Edmund, what you're saying to refute that, Adam, is that, well, Edmund's got a vested interest in Narnia sales because he's selling tickets to the pictures that he's taking. So therefore, you can't really accept that, and that's the standard that he's laid down. And yeah, okay, I'll have to go along with that and agree with you, and therefore, obviously, we're going to progress in a second. But it's only because
honest.
But it's only because at the point that he said, well, you've only got these people who are NASA that everybody in the flat Earth understands are just propaganda merchants of the opposing view, and all they're there for is to sell the opposing view. Therefore, you wouldn't accept pictures from them. That's how he's phrased it. And me, I'd go, you see this picture on screen now, right? Mensa and flat Earth, right? You see the black bit? That's claimed to be a 10 to the minus 17 tour vacuum. That's space. That's where they're saying they're going to get the pictures. Well,
exactly.
all of the gas all of these high pressure clouds in the picture are gas at pressure not expanding into the sky vacuum. Therefore, there's no way to go and get these pictures. But he's not in any way tackled that. So the only reason we're rejecting the pictures at this point is on the weak-ass point that they're just the opposition and they're punting this view. So based on the fact that they're punting a globe Earth religion, we're going to reject the pictures? That's not good enough standard to reject them. Good enough standard is the place that they're saying this black area is a vacuum, and that isn't true.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not about what standard you. This is what I'm saying. What he's done is he's got the bloke with his own standards to reject it. He's not had to convince him through any other method, no secondary argument. He's got the gent to intellectually say, yeah, if I'm being honest here and I'm applying standards of proof, then no, that's not a sufficient standard. He's already got him to do the hard work for him. It's gone. Pictures will not be used now. There's no side arguments.
His outcome's fine. Yeah, fine. Yeah. He's got there.
Yeah, but he's done it in a way that's not. He's not had an argument yet. All he's only is asked him some questions and asked him to apply his standards, and the guy's got rid of it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
in time. I
mean, say something, Nathan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you, Nathan, that I wouldn't bring up NASA. I'd just bring up purely the fundamentals of gas behavior and entropy. But that's what I would be bringing up, and not NASA, because what actually happened was the McCoy mind shock. There's two things I have an issue with. He's been bringing up the word model a lot, and speaking about models and using the word models. I don't like that. There isn't a model for what we're talking about. There is a heliocentric model, not a flat Earth model, right? But besides that, he actually used a stereotyping fallacy. He said, all flat earthers say, or the flat earthers say, blah, 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 NASA. Like, no, right? We don't say that. We ask about entropy. That's what's important. And I reckon the Mensa guy, was just not going to say, well, pictures are pretty good evidence, because there might be enough evidence for him, but he doesn't want to say that because he knows that he'll be challenged on the pictures. So he might be just smart enough just to stay out of getting into that situation or that kind of a debate.
Exactly.
Pictures.
Yes, I agree.
That's how I view it.
He just seems like he's being agreeable and being led, and he's being happy to be led. That's what it seems like from the Ments guy. That's why we're being more critical of the Mindshot guy, which probably isn't the outcome he was hoping for. The Mindshot guy, when he agreed to let you do this, Adam, was the Eyes of Death. Did you want to add something? You were flashing away. I don't know if you wanted to add something. Or should I announce you more dramatically? Eyes of Death. Did you want to add something?
Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out how to get the Bluetooth headset to work on this thing.
That's all right. Far less dramatic than I was hoping for, but no, hopefully you found the mute button now, which it seems you have.
Discord doesn't like me.
All good. It's very good to have you here, though. Dramatic name and all.
My name is actually one of my jobs. I was in the military.
Okay.
I'd like to know what post he did. What in the military?
He took their eyes after they died, obviously.
It's because I was the one that saw everyone die, because I was the one doing the killing. Wasn't a very, not very publicized type of MOS job that I did.
What side of the fence? Just before I argue with you and potentially piss you off where I don't want to. What side of the fence do you sit on? Just so we know.
I'm a flat earther.
Praise be to Jesus.
Usually when they do the killing, they don't speak about it. But that's okay. I believe
What was that?
Careful, Neil, careful.
Usually the guys who do the killing don't speak about it.
That's in the
no, we
Mafia,
don't.
Neil, not the army.
No, I had uncles that served World War II, and uncles that served in Nam never spoke about it.
I voice verified him. He checks out. He's all right.
It's very difficult for people to understand.
Sorry, was that your version of You Weren't There, Man?
What was that?
Was that your version of You Weren't There, Man? You wouldn't know.
No, it's just a lot of people don't understand the act of killing another human.
Definitely not. That's not something I've been privileged to and wouldn't want to be.
You have those that feel that it's their right or they feel justified in doing it, and then they have those like me that feel like we were a freaking pawn in the game, and we murdered for a lie.
Yeah, I understand that. And the thing about it is, it's like one of those experiences that you can't explain it to somebody because it's unexplainable, the feeling, until you've actually done it.
I just
that
say,
makes...
yeah, braver men than I, and thank you for your service is all I can ever say. For whatever the motivation, that's kind of irrelevant. You went there, look after you and yours, and say brave men that get mugged off, but that's history.
Yeah, like regardless of what political forces were behind it and trickery, if your intention was correct, then, you know what I mean, the intention was right.
Boy, you're so gullible, huh?
No, but you just don't disrespect people because of what they're made to do.
Pretty weird note to round the show out on, but there we go. That's the way it goes sometimes on Flat Earth Debate. But with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!